Andrew Wilson and Candace Owens may finally be heading toward a debate. But I'm not primarily interested in who scores the most points or wins the most technical exchanges. I want to know what has actually been driving Candace Owens throughout this entire Charlie Kirk investigation. How did this go from asking reasonable questions to influencing millions of people with an expanding narrative of suspicion? Is this genuinely a pursuit of truth, or have money, attention, audience capture, and personal pride made it impossible to turn back? Andrew can challenge every claim she has made, but if he never gets beneath those claims and confronts the motivations behind them, we may finish this debate without ever reaching the most important truth. So is it actually going to happen? I am very hesitant to actually believing this debate will happen. I hope it does. But it sounds like it's set up for next Friday, that it could go down, unless someone backs out. And it seems like Candace Owens has been putting roadblocks throughout the way, making excuses, making different terms, changing the goalposts. What's the point? Says that she never even heard of Andrew Wilson until like a week ago. That I don't know. And this isn't just at Candace Owens. This is other people as well. Like, do people just get on a screen and just say the craziest things ever? I'd never heard of your name before today. It's the same thing that Candace Owens did with Nick Fuentes when they had their sit down together. Like, I really never knew about you, and I've never heard about you until just a little bit ago. And Tucker Carlson did the same thing. I don't know this kid, talking about Nick Fuentes and all that, but it seems like people do that occasionally. And I don't know if, like, Candace, did you really not know who Andrew Wilson was? I mean, that is a normal name. It's not like Candace Owens or whatever, Tucker Carlson. So Andrew Wilson seemed like, low-key, down to earth. Maybe she didn't really know him, whatever. But ever since, and Andrew Wilson challenged her, now it's actually coming to fruition because he went on the biggest podcast in the world. Joe Rogan called her out by name. Candace Owens could no longer ignore it. But before we dive into this and go through the different points of why I think this is important, this isn't just because going into this debate, if it is an official debate, whatever, I don't even really care about that. I'd rather it be a conversation. But if it's a debate and who wins, the people that are supporting Candace are going to just agree with Candace. Whatever she says, that's true. The people who are supporting Andrew Wilson or the counter narrative to Candace Owens are going to say that's true. So it's like, who are we persuading at this point? Who's actually, like, what are we going to get from this? And I think there's something much deeper that we need to get from this, as opposed to someone making a good point, creating a viral clip. We need to get to underneath the surface, Candace Owens' mind, motivations, and this capture, this almost cultic mentality that she has many people under. This spell that she has many people under. And I'm really hesitant to use that word. I have been, but it seems like that is what it is. And anybody can fall under that. I mean, any cult mentality, people can get caught up in that. And that seems like at this point, when even evidence doesn't support your claims, that if you still believe it, that means you're under like psychosis. You're under like hypnotism. And that's where I think we're at. But before we dive into this, I want to take a look at this clip from Nick Fuentes when him commenting on his eagerness of this actually happening.
We're going to dive in. Oh, the one thing I really hope. Here's the one thing I'm excited about. I'm really excited about this Candace Owens, Andrew Wilson debate. I hope it happens. Guys, we got to make this happen. Guys, fellas, what can we do to make this happen? Andrew Wilson challenged Candace Owens to a debate on the Charlie Kirk assassination. He raised $300,000 for, does that just go to her? Does she just get all that money? He raised $300,000 for the debate. And initially she came back and said, I want $500,000. Really? She comes back with a counteroffer. She says, I want $500,000. And then she goes, never mind, I'll take the $300,000, but we have to do it at my house and you can't smoke cigarettes and blah, blah, blah.
So that is like exactly the hilarity of Nick Fuentes. He almost brings some sanity. He brings some like seriousness to the situation, like he like breaks it down. Like, are you really, 300,000 isn't enough? I mean, I would be okay with working maybe 3 hours and making 300,000. I'd be good with that. But no, she went to, it's not going to be 300,000. It's got to be 500,000. That's my limit. Plus all these other terms and conditions or whatever that you have to meet. And then he called her on it, and she's like, well, I back off or whatever, because he said he wanted to make 500,000 as well. Okay, and like, so it just making fun of him, disparaging Andrew Wilson, saying you don't seem like a guy that's got 500,000 laying around. You seem like you're just this bad boy that smokes cigarettes and all that. You don't seem like you got like that much money. Well, so the whole deal was he was going to crowdfund it, raise it up, get it from his followers or just people that want to put money into this and want to see this happen. Which is, I mean, that's cool. Whatever gets this to actually play out, whatever makes this happen, because they went like the last couple of days, they went back and forth, like pinging each other back and forth on X. It's been kind of interesting to watch and the arguments that people bring and make up. And I thought it was kind of odd that Andrew Wilson wants to no ad hominem attacks, don't no insults or you lose the debate. Just this starchy, dry, like debate thing. Like who actually wants to see I go to a podium and I'm going to lay out my points and then you get to think about it and you come up and lay out your points. I'm going to, cross-examination you. Like, I get that. I mean, that's good and all, but that doesn't get to actual truth. That will not get to the reality of the situation, because it's all about making like your opponent look bad, as opposed to getting to what you actually think happened, how you can actually defend it, what is going on in your mind behind all of this. And I know a lot of people that just think about it's about what's physically out there, practical means, motivation, what's driving someone doesn't necessarily matter. I always hear Alex Hormozy talk about that. It's just actual effect. People's incentives or motives, what's behind the surface, that doesn't matter. What actually happens is what is carried out. I get that, and I understand that. But to actually make any game or headway with what Candace Owens has done with her followers, we have to change her mind, or at least get her to a point where she is willing to actually see the truth. Whatever the truth is, that she sees it. And she actually believes it. And I'm not talking about whatever you say and make up and whatever you want the truth to be, that I'm going to believe that. I'm going to believe, that Oscar the Grouch was on that rooftop that day and he was on there that stuck his head out of a trash can and shot. Or I want to believe that. I think I can believe that. I can make my followers believe that. And that's the truth. That's what happened. That's not how reality works. You can't say, I want to believe that I have $1 billion in the bank, liquid assets. I can just create it out of thin air, out of my mind. It doesn't matter how much you think it's true or you want it to be true. It doesn't make it real. And we got to get to the point, like I know most people don't want to talk about her being on the couch and laying down and like a psychologist or a psychiatrist analyzing her mind. Just what's going on? What are you really wanting to happen? What's pushing you to make these things, to make these accusations, to drive this narrative, to say Bridget Macron has a penis, to say that just create that, and like we've moved past that. Has that been substantiated? Is that a real thing, or now have lawsuits just came like an avalanche toward her and she's pivoted, moved on to something else? I was not involved in the whole in watching her do her documentaries over that and what her point is about that. But it just does seem interesting. Wouldn't you kind of drive that one home? Get out there doing some investigative work. Go take the microphone to Bridget Macron, to the Macron over there guy or whatever, Emmanuel Macron, and find out. We need to test you. Are you this again? It goes to people thinking there's no real there's not a real man, there's not a real woman. It's just you can be whatever you want, whatever you feel like being. That's what you are, and she's feeding into that by her whatever I want to believe or whatever my audience wants to believe, or I'm going to make them believe whatever they love, whatever's getting those views, those clicks, that attention, that engagement. That's what I'm full steam ahead. And that's what it seems like most of the time her agenda has been about. It's not been about getting to any truth whatsoever. Not really. It has not felt like that whatsoever. She started off asking like questions that everybody's asking, but she quickly pivoted, moved on, and just like linked arms with everybody and just threw them into the grinder and just started grinding whoever she wanted up, whoever she wanted to disparage and make look terrible. And this is what, like, this, if this debate happens, and I'm very like, I'm very jaded where I do not think it actually will happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm very doubtful that it will happen because I think Candace is going to bleed this dry. This whole circle, she's going to make up something else. Because if she's really under scrutiny and she gets out there and they have a conversation, and I want it to be live in front of us all, what's happening. And I know she has to do it in her home studio because, you know, she doesn't want to go anywhere else. She almost wants that home field advantage, wants to feel comfortable, whatever. I don't care. You can do that if you want. But I want to make sure that she doesn't have something in her ear. Make sure that she does not have air support feeding her material, feeding her answers, that she can go back to her team and talk through things. How can I bring a better argument? How can I? But like, it's this idea of being cynical and like I said, jaded. You don't think we're going to get to any, we're not going to move the ball down the court whatsoever. Because if it's not getting into the heart of the matter, like the conversation that she said she had with Erica Kirk back in December, like that she came out of and for weeks was saying it was a great conversation. We ironed out so many things. We figured it out, you know. It was behind closed doors, you know. There was no lawyers present. I don't know if she said that or whatever, but like it seemed like that was what she insinuated. And then I want that conversation in front of everyone. And like with Andrew Wilson, it doesn't need to be combative. It doesn't need to be me slam dunking on your ass. It doesn't need that. It just needs to be like, what do you actually believe? Because to the truth or whatever of who actually shot Charlie Kirk, who was involved, like if there was a greater conspiracy going on, because there could have been something like that. There could have been something deeper and bigger going on there. So we don't need to prove exactly who the shooter is because the courts are going to prove that in trial, like to the beyond reasonable doubt. That's what that's going to, but based on the evidence that we have so far, because Andrew's going to bring incomplete evidence. Candace Owens is going to bring incomplete evidence. They're going to make their little points or whatever, and they're going to talk through things, talk in circles. I do know that Andrew Wilson is very, like, if there's anyone out there that is a great debater, is a good debater of not allowing fluff into the conversation and into the mindset, it is him. I mean, he made Dave Smith look like an idiot when they debated each other, when he was calling him on just a question and just challenging his assumptions and made him look stupid. And Dave Smith had to tap out, and he was like, he started the ad hominem attack of just of insulting and all that, and just because he couldn't take, I'm not even talking this, and just like being offended that his views were being challenged. I don't think we should ever be offended that our views are challenged. Because if we get in that defensive mode where we are upset and we have to fight back, lash out against someone, that means our views probably aren't that great. Or maybe our full understanding of those views aren't that great. That we might even believe the right thing, but we might not be able to fully articulate and flesh it out what we even believe. So I think it's like it is the iron sharpening iron that has to happen. If Andrew Wilson comes, and I think he will come into it with a goodwill, good faith debate and position, wants to defend whatever it is he believes, if Candace Owens does that same thing, and that is the crux of the matter. That is the issue at hand. How is Candace Owens going to walk into that room, her own house or whatever? How is she going to walk in there? What is her stance, her viewpoint? What is it going to be? And that's why I'm so highly skeptical that this will actually happen. I think Candace Owens is just going to bleed more content out of it. She's going to squeeze as much as she can. That's what she does. She is ironclad and the greatest ever of squeezing as much juice out of an orange as possible, and as much content, just creating it better than anyone. There's no one better at doing that than Candace Owens. Like, I think of Jake Paul and Logan Paul, like the best marketing gurus out there in this field of creating content, of creating like capture of attention, of audience capture, is Candace Owens. Like, she can find anything and make anything. She's been talking about Charlie Kirk and this whole thing. We're going on like 9 months, 10 months at this point. And she, like, from every angle, she's not always bringing in anything new. She's recycling some of the same things, but she's magnanimous at marketing whatever she's stepping into. And she, like, I don't know what it is about the whole spell casting thing. I feel weird ever even insinuating like that she's a witch, or like I don't ever want to like say something, that like she has nothing to do. I don't want to disparage or besmirch her name. I don't want to. And I don't want to do that for anyone. But it does feel like she does have that ability to somehow, or something working through her, to cast a spell, to like puts people under this spell of believing her. Because when you listen to her and you are not like guarded, you will be absorbed into it. I don't know if anybody's seen the movie The Odyssey, no spoiler alerts, but there is a point where something happens and like these guys go in and they just get drawn in and sucked in and like just deceived. And like because it seems so palatable, so nice, and they're gone, they're done, they're cooked. I was pretty vague right there. I didn't give anything away. It's been out for a month, so I think we're safe there. But like Candace Owens, she has that same ability. It's insane. If you listen to her, you will believe everything. You will believe everything she says. It's impossible to deny what she is putting forward, what she speaks into existence. She's creating realities. Literally, it's not even figuratively. It's literally creating realities and infusing them into people's minds. She has created a reality of how people in America, primarily women and gay guys, but a lot of people, even straight guys out there, but primarily those two, women and gay guys, believe her and are just hook, line, and sinker in her. And it's just believing whatever she says. And for Andrew Wilson to come in there and to stick to the facts, almost do that Matt Walsh stance, that posture. I'm going to go fact to fact, not blowing up or whatever, but it has to be a conversation. It can't just be, I'm going to say my points, you say your points. I'm going to respond to your points, you respond to my points. It can't be that. We need to go underneath the surface. It cannot be this surface level stuff. We have to find what's deeper going on in her mind. And I know even Ben Shapiro and guys like that, they don't want to, I can't psychoanalyze Candace Owens, the mind of her. We have to. If you want to get into like the direction that most of our culture's going, it's not even just believe in her, but almost being a copy and replicated of believing this type of stuff, because everybody's in their own silo and believing whatever it is. Their realities are being just infused into their minds. We need to figure out if our country, our culture is going to not be destroyed by ultimately by Islamic religion. That's where it's that if you dial it back all the way, or you look behind one step upon the other, that's the final bite down, the final collapse and the crunch that it will happen. Islam taking over America. That is the direction. And I'm not just saying you're just speaking the Jewish talking points or the Israeli talking points. No. I'm being deadly serious when I'm saying that. Because all this stuff with Democrat, leftist, communist, socialism or whatever, all these people out there, different ideologies, they all adhere and will fall under the banner of being destroyed and eaten up and crushed by Islam. Because all this stuff at each other's necks is just weakening us so that we don't know how to defend ourselves, how to fight back. Because no one stands with anything. And the things that we stand with are not tethered to reality. So this is just my plea that Andrew Wilson is not just talking about, because Candace Owens brought up that we're just going to talk about none of the claims I made, but just about Tyler Robinson. Is he the shooter or is he not? Is he the guy or is he not? Not go down all these rabbit trails or whatever. We need to go down rabbit trails. We need to. We keep it together in this 3-hour window that we have. Go down these rabbit trails. All these things that you've been saying. What evidence are you providing? Not just give a talking point. Not just give make someone feed into a presupposition that you're implanting into their mind and making them just believe this randomly, but actually get underneath the surface and defend all these claims that you're making. All of them. All of them. I mean, start with the biggest, obviously, and work your way down, but defend all these things that you're saying because you have created a generation, a following that are going to bring other people along to this insanity that is not tethered to reality at all. And is not tethered to America. It's not tethered to truth. It's not tethered to that at all. And I think Andrew Wilson needs to be on point. Don't let her veer off because she will veer. And I'm not going to say I'm going in and I'm going to believe everything Andrew Wilson says. Every point he makes is right. Every point Candace Owens makes, that's wrong. That's not the point. Candace Owens is not our enemy. If you're on Candace Owens' side, Andrew Wilson's not your enemy. We can all come together. If we adhere to, because at the end of the day, what is going to separate people is truth and love of truth. People that don't like truth, they're going to go one way, and people that love truth and want truth they're going to go one way. And I think you want to be on the side that loves and wants what's true. So we'll leave it at that. Let me know what you think about all this, but this is where my head's at. I'm extremely hopeful that it actually happens. Candace Owens, take your $300,000, whatever you need, but let's get to the heart of the issue. Defend what you've said about TPUSA. Defend what you've said about Erica Kirk, Egyptian planes, maroon shirts, French government, our government, all these things. Defend it. Make it make sense. Make an actual conclusion to what you've been saying and tie it all up in a bow. Make it so we understand it and not that we're forced down our throats. All right, we'll leave it at that. All right, have a great day. See y'all.